Charlie Kirk's the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept the View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to neo.
Sunny Hostin suffered a major on-air meltdown during a nationally televised debate with Charlie Kirk that quickly spiraled out of control. What began as a tense exchange turned into a one-sided rout, as Kirk dismantled Hostin's arguments with surgical precision. The audience of The View seemed unsure whether to applaud or call for help. Hostin, visibly rattled, struggled to recover as her talking points collapsed under pressure. It wasn't just a debate, it was a televised takedown.
Her disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%. Right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men, actually, voting more for him. And you have, and black men was not the story. We're not the story here because they voted almost 80% for the vice president.
Right. Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach.
There are meltdowns. And then there are televised implosions so raw and spectacular they belong in a documentary and come with their own candlelight vigil. Sunny Hostin's recent on-air unraveling, that was the latter. A masterclass in elegant disaster, so brilliantly unfiltered and unexpectedly chaotic, it deserves a permanent exhibit in the Smithsonian titled, When Talk Shows Go Wrong.
What did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away with it. And the reason they felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience of The View would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to
Sunny wasn't ambushed. There were no surprise guests, no heated shouting matches, no gotcha questions, just the distant rumble of Charlie Kirk's digital sledgehammer crashing through the conversation like a wrecking ball soaked in Red Bull and algorithm juice. He didn't even need to be in the same time zone to leave a mark.
White privilege is a racist myth that is rooted in bigotry, trying to classify people based on their skin color. If you are a racist, you have something to apologize for. If you're a white person who is not a racist, you have nothing to apologize for. And anyone who makes you apologize just based on the color of their skin, they're the racist and you're not.
Here's modern media warfare at its finest. Charlie Kirk launched a perfectly packaged political grenade from the comfort of his own platform. It wasn't a response. It was a cinematic takedown, an overproduced, smug gassin' video aimed squarely at Sunny Hostin's entire worldview like it owed him rent. Forget facts. Subtlety? Nowhere in sight. Dramatic infographics? Check. Slow zooms? Check. Righteous background music swelling in the distance? Check. This wasn't a critique. It was a demolition. Kirk didn't just go for the jugular, he rewired the whole circulatory system and served it up with a side of smug fries. And oh yes, the internet devoured every bite.
Turning Point conference, were in the front of out there in front of the conference with anti-Semitic slurs, and I think it's important that every single person that attended that turning point, every Republican speak up against the swastikas, against the flags that were waved.
You let them in.
President, open your
You
mouth.
let them in and you knew what they were.
Right.
So you are complicit.
The clip spread faster than a fake Kardashian pregnancy rumor. Within hours, it was trending across Twitter, hijacking timelines with titles like Charlie Kirk ends daytime delusion and Sunny Hostin hit with a reality brick. Subreddits. Ignited comment sections turned into digital battlegrounds, and reaction channels swarmed like vultures circling an all-you-can-eat outrage buffet. Suddenly, The View, normally a sanctuary of polished, liberal predictability, looked more like a cruise ship caught in a hurricane. The set wobbled, the energy dipped, and Sunny Hostin, the seasoned legal mind with steely composure, started to short-circuit in real time. To be clear, there were no screams or chair throwing. This wasn't Real Housewives. It was far more devastating. The slow, visible erosion of composure, the nervous fidgeting, the forced smiles, the fragile grip on that signature gravitas. You could almost hear her internal monologue. Am I getting ratioed on live TV? Meanwhile, from whatever bunker he films his digital manifestos in, Charlie Kirk was likely popping virtual champagne. Because this wasn't about truth, debate, or nuance, it was about dominance. And if public humiliation needed a spokesperson, that one clip would have applied for the job. Because here's the twist. Kirk didn't just dismantle her talking points. He took aim at the entire persona she represents. Educated, polished, media-trained, and supposedly unflappable. And for one brutal moment, all of it cracked.
And the final point I'll say is this, is Sunny, you guys thought that abortion was going to be this like quasi-zealot religious issue. I'm pro-life, if people in the audience aren't, that's fine. What I'm saying though, what gives me promise, and I think we can all agree on this, is that there are other issues that should animate and drive our politics other than this very divisive one. And I was really encouraged by that, Megan. Very encouraged, because the media was forcing this as an up or down vote on a referendum on a highly complicated, very emotional, very personal issue. And it turned out the American people were like, yeah, actually, these other 6 things matter more. And good for them.
And that's exactly why he did it. It's classic Charlie Kirk strategy. Reduce public figures to Twitter handles, strip away the nuance, and toss them into the roaring bonfire of meme culture. He didn't need to be right. He just needed to be louder, slicker, and 2 algorithmic steps ahead. And in this round, he absolutely was. While Sunny was still easing into her weekend brunch takes, Kirk had already dropped 6 viral edits, flooded the internet with 1,000 fanboy reaction GIFs, and launched a fresh merch drop. Sunny's on air. Unraveling wasn't about losing a debate. It was about getting flattened by a freight train of performative outrage dressed up as discourse. She thought she was navigating a routine segment under mild pressure, just another Monday on The View. What she got instead was a media hurricane, orchestrated from afar and timed with merciless precision. Now, the producers at The View are no strangers to turbulence. They've handled walk-offs, cringeworthy interviews, and the occasional live-on-air therapy session masquerading as a hot topic. But this was something else entirely. This wasn't a conversation. It was a narrative siege, a digital ambush, an uninvited cyber incursion that hit before anyone even realized a debate had started. And the cameras, those ruthless, unblinking truth-tellers, caught every frame. The slight stiffening of her posture, the fleeting glances toward the teleprompter like it might contain a lifeline, the voice, usually so crisp and commanding, starting to tremble like a Jenga tower seconds before collapse.
Welcome back. You know, in Monday's conversation about Turning Point USA, I put the young people at the conference in the same category as the protesters outside. And I don't like it when people make assumptions about me. And it's not any better when I make assumptions about other people, which I did. So, my bad. I'm sorry. Okay, so.
Online, the wolves were already circling. Reaction videos from Charlie Kirk's ecosystem sliced and diced Sunny's discomfort into endless montages, looping her most vulnerable expressions like GIFs on repeat. Conservative blogs crowned it, a cultural triumph. Even Gen Z TikTokers jumped in, remixing her blinking and fidgeting into dance memes with the frenzy of digital piranhas. Meanwhile, Kirk was basking in the glow, like a smug lighthouse cutting through the fog of legacy media. His
father has nothing else to talk about. Maybe you should get the lawyer that worked on that Covington Catholic school case. What was that, a $200 million settlement? I think, Charlie, you could use the money, and your students definitely could too.
And it hit like a drone strike on Sunny Hostin's carefully curated persona. For years, she'd crafted an image built on intellectual poise and moral certainty. But none of that stood a chance once the internet crowned her this week's viral piñata. It wasn't that her perspective was fundamentally flawed, it's that the optics made her look unprepared, rattled, human. And in today's media landscape, being visibly human on camera is practically a career death sentence. Charlie Kirk didn't win because he was more insightful. He won because he was ruthlessly theatrical. And the internet doesn't reward nuance. It rewards carnage. You'd think daytime television with its soft lighting and scripted segments would be a safe space, but it's just another war zone now. And poor Sunny Hostin walked into it thinking she was moderating a tea party. No rebuttal, no lifeline, just the slow public unraveling of someone caught in the headlights of digital perception. One viral clip, and her composed exterior buckled under the pressure. What followed wasn't just uncomfortable, it was a masterclass in the psychological toll of modern media warfare, and honestly, it was cinematic. The story had it all: an unexpected strike, the creeping unravel, and that hollow realization that the cameras were still mercilessly rolling. The saddest part? She tried. She really tried to hold it together.
Look at your achievements. How do you like the so-called uneducated now, Sunny?
Yeah, and again, by the way, rarely do you get the answer to a question in the question. And her whole question is exactly why there was a rebellion against them.
Yes.
Listen, just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. I always differentiate between knowledge and wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach. I mean, or about North African lesbian poetry. Okay, that stuff's fine, I guess.
For years, liberal media operated under a comforting delusion that truth would win the day. The belief was simple: pile on enough research, add a dash of legal analysis, deliver it in a measured tone with a Yale pedigree, and voila. People would nod thoughtfully and reconsider their worldview over a cup of chamomile tea. Spoiler alert, they won't. Not in 2025. Not when audiences are skipping past economic policy explainers in favor of videos titled "Liberal Melts Down After Getting Destroyed by Common Sense." The rules have changed dramatically. People aren't looking for nuance. They're looking for the political equivalent of a WWE cage match. Trash talk, folding chairs flying across ideological lines. Debating used to be about logic and structure. Now it's about going viral. If someone turns you into a 10-second meme with sad violin music and Comic Sans captions, you've already lost, no matter how flawless your constitutional interpretation might be. Charlie Kirk didn't show up with a well-footnoted dossier. He showed up with a digital wrecking ball. And the worst part? He didn't even have to physically show up. He detonated the segment remotely, like a guy who wins a boxing match by launching a drone from another time zone. Meanwhile, Sunny Hostin was left sitting in the wreckage of her credibility, blinking like someone who just realized a perfect resume doesn't come with meme immunity.
Now we begin with a shocking apology just a short time ago from the ladies of The View to Turning Point USA. A war of words broke out after the conservative group was rallying the next generation of voters at its youth summit in Tampa, Florida this weekend. And the liberal panel just couldn't help themselves. The group sent a scathing cease and desist letter after hosts on The View suggested that Turning Point had embraced neo-Nazis who showed up outside the event.
Over the weekend, Turning Point USA hosted a riveting event in Tampa, Florida called the Student Action Summit. Outside of the event were individuals waving flags and engaged in other activities. Well, on Monday's show, members of The View made a few comments about it.
The conservative group Turning Point USA has condemned the group of neo and said they have nothing to do with the organization.
Yeah, but where was DeSantis is what I want to know. But you let them in. You let them in and you knew what they were. Right. So you are complicit.
Monday, we talked about the fact that there were openly neo demonstrators outside the Florida Student Action Summit of the Turning Point USA group. We want to make clear that these demonstrators were gathered outside the event and that they were not invited or endorsed by Turning Point USA. A Turning Point USA spokesman said the group, quote, 100% condemns those ideologies, and said Turning Point USA security tried to remove the neo-Nazis from the area but could not because they were on public property. Also, Turning Point USA wanted us to clarify that this was a Turning Point USA summit and not a Republican Party event. So we apologize for anything we said that may have been unclear on these points.
Emojis and reaction videos by influencers who probably think Karl Marx is just a TikTok dance challenge. It's been remixed more times than a Drake hit. Hostin's poised image? Shattered into 1,000 algorithm-friendly shards, each one shared, stitched, and monetized by people who couldn't define due process if it served them legal papers.